Hello everyone, my name is Lawrence and my amateur radio call sign is K9EYZ, Kilo 9 Echo Yankee Zulu. And this little presentation will be how to use the W5WA BBS. W5WA is the call sign for the Jackson County Amateur Radio Association, and that's in Jackson County, Mississippi, all the way on the Gulf Coast, right next to Alabama. And this is the BBS is a bulletin board system that we've set up for use of our members and people around us, so that we can send messages back and forth between amateur radio operators at their convenience. It's like a message repository, sort of like an email server that is not online, it's not on the internet, and it uses only radio. Now, this is not the same thing as Winlink. If you're familiar with Winlink, Winlink requires the internet in its primary mode. It uses the internet to work. You connect to a radio and a computer that then connect to the internet, and they send it out through servers and pick up your mail and send it back. This is designed to work when the internet is down and when we don't have any infrastructure at all. And that makes it a great emergency asset, or emergency communications asset for Jackson County and our surrounding areas. So we expect that we can get coverage with this system probably through most of Mississippi and Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, parts of Louisiana as well. So it can be very useful in this area when we have certain, when emergency comms are needed. So frequencies that we operate on, I'll throw that up here first. The BBS operates using the club call sign of W5WA, and the -1 is the SSID. That's important when you go to make your connection. The -1 is an SSID, and when the BBS is listening for people to make a connection, it's listening specifically for that -1. So make sure you include that. We use the modes of VARA and RDOP on HF. And those are both modes that are used also with Winlink. And VARA is faster than RDOP, of course. RDOP works better in poor propagation. It also uses less bandwidth. But they're both very useful under certain circumstances, so we do use both. And we also use the BBS on 2-meter packet. Packet in the 2-meter is really critical. If you're a technician without HF privileges, you can use this station on packet, and so it is useful for all hams, all licensed hams. There's a way that you can get into it. I'll list dial and center frequencies there. I'll explain that a little bit in a moment. We have 80 meters and 40 meters covered there, as you can see. So let me go ahead and minimize that, and we'll get over here to Winlink Express. Winlink Express is client. Let me maximize that again. Winlink Express is the client software that was designed specifically to work with the Winlink 2000 system. And we're not part of the Winlink 2000 system the way we have this set up, but we can use their client software to help us communicate with our BBS. Notice that this looks just like, or very similar to, any other mail post office type software that you would use, whether it's Outlook, whether it's Thunderbird, you name it. This is very similar to most mailbox post office software that you would use. And it's going to have on the left hand columns there, you're going to have folders, an inbox, an outbox, sent folder, and you're going to have read folder, and you've got folders where you can put everything. And the bulk of the center here is made up with an upper box, which of course this is where our messages will appear once we download them. This is where the headers will appear, and you'll see them as a list. And then down below is where we can display the actual content of each of those messages. So that's the basic layout of the Winlink Express software. So I'll concentrate now on how do we open up a session with the BBS, and we'll download a few messages. The RDOP Winlink is what we're going to use for this as a demonstration. RDOP, as we said, is one modem, and we're going to look through these options here and notice that there's several of them for Winlink. And then you have several of them P2P, that's for peer-to-peer, and then you have radio only and a telnet post office as well. Winlink is what we want to use. We're using their protocols to do this. We're not doing this through peer-to-peer, and we're not doing this through radio only with the way that they do it. Even though we are using it in a radio only situation, you want to use RDOP Winlink or VARA HF Winlink. We're going to choose RDOP Winlink here. And then right beside it is the open session. We want to click on that. When we do, it brings up the RDOP Winlink session. I'm going to open with it the RDOP modem. This is the modem right here. Oh, let me open that again. Sorry. And get that all those windows back open. This is the modem right here, and then the Winlink session, the RDOP Winlink session, is right here, and they work together. RDOP Winlink session is the interface between Winlink Express and the modem. The modem is the interface between taking data and putting it into sound in the sound card and then going to the radio. So when you open it, this normally is not pre-populated as it is here. I'm going to take this information out of the call sign in the center frequency field and we're going to enter it directly. Remember what we said before, W5WA-1 is the call sign we're going to connect to. The center frequency, and let me explain this for a moment and open this again. Remember, we're doing this in upper sideband. So if our radio is set to 3589.5 and it's on upper sideband, it's going to occupy 3 kilohertz from 35895 up from there. And if you calculate half of that will be the center, that'll be plus 1.5 kilohertz, which brings it to 3591. Well, why is this important? You're probably wondering, why am I bothering with this? Well, when we have to enter this manually, as we're doing here, when we're working with the BBS, you have to type in the center frequency. No matter how hard you try, Winlink won't let you enter anything in the dial frequency box. You have to enter the center frequency. And you cannot choose the options above like you would with Winlink because we're not on the Winlink system. This thing is independent of that. The BBS is independent of Winlink. So you won't find us listed in the forecast or best channels or channel selection. So we have to enter it directly. So in this case, going back to that text file, we look at 3591.0, and when you tab out of that, the dial frequency will be calculated automatically. Now, this thing is ready to start calling at any moment. So we're going to minimize this text file here. We've got our Winlink RDOP session open, and we've got the call sign entered right here. We've got the center frequency entered, which gave us the dial frequency. Our radio, which is off to the left, outside of the screen here, is set appropriately to the center frequency. The next thing we do is hit start. And if you make a successful connection, or if you're able to make a successful connection, you'll notice that there are several commands that are scrolling across on the RDOP Winlink session, and you'll see the activity happening on the graphics on the RDOP modem over to your right. And we're going to give it a moment, and we're going to pick up 3 messages that I left there for myself. And as you can see, I know for a fact that there are at least 3 messages to pick up. This is much slower than it is connecting by the internet, but remember again, this is for emergency communications, and we're just happy to have any connection we can make at all if this system is ever truly needed. And a lot of what you're hearing, if you are hearing the noise and all from the modems, I don't think you can over the microphone. But what's happening is the two separate radios from the two different systems, the client and the BBS, one will send a packet, the other will send an acknowledgement that it received it, and then back and forth, and that's how it knows it's actually completed the cycle. Now that we're done, and it says we've received the 3 messages, we'll close the RDOP Winlink session, which also closes the RDOP modem. Click on our inbox, and you'll see 3 messages here. Now's a good time to talk about there are 2 groups of messages that we send through this system. One type of message is going to be a personal message. Personal message would be one that I would send from one person to another, one ham to another. So in the example I'm going to show you, I've got a buddy, Ki5JJP, who has sent me a personal message. That is no different than you sending an email to someone. That person receives the email, and if a third person comes in to check their email, they theoretically should not receive that. It should go only between the 2 recipients. I'll remind everybody, this is amateur radio. It's not appropriate to have, it's not legal to have encrypted communications, and you should consider everything that you send to be in the public domain. In fact, the sysop for the BBS, the administrator for the BBS, is not only able to read all the messages sent through it, but is required to be able to read all those messages. So do not consider any of these private. If you've got to send private banking information, I'd urge you to look for some other option. But that's a personal message between 2 parties. Maybe it's between more than 2 parties. If I wanted to copy it to a third party, or maybe 4 or 5, you can do that. That's still considered a personal message. The second type of a message is a bulletin. A bulletin does not have any specific recipients noted as you create the message. It's a bulletin. It's exactly that. When it's there, anybody who is listed as a recipient for bulletins will pick up those bulletins. Within the bulletin category, we use 2 types on this BBS. I'll explain that in a moment too. So let's click on this top message here. That's a personal message. And you'll notice in the subject, we've got it called Testing Personal Message. You see it's from my buddy, Ki5JJP. And if you'll notice here, this is the address he sent it from. And for the most part, you can forget about this behind it for the moment. I'll explain. You notice it's at W5WA. That means it came through that particular BBS. And it's sent to K9EYZ at W5WA. And of course, it's just at Lawrence. This is a test of the personal message, 73 Jeff. And that's what a personal message will look like. But then we also include 2 types of bulletins. The bulletins are a little different. The bulletins are going to be addressed to either WX at W5WA or WN at W5WA. WX is for weather, and that's how we send weather bulletins. So anybody who wants to send a weather bulletin to our bulletin board will have to address it to the WX at W5WA address. And then anybody who wants to receive those bulletins and who is on that list will automatically pick them up whenever they log into the BBS. The other type of a bulletin here is a general bulletin, and that's WN at W5WA. And in this one, we're talking about Aries training. You can see the message there. There's going to be an Aries training event on the 31st of this month. So that's how we would announce it and have everybody pick up that message. And those are the 2 different types of messages, personal and bulletins. How you create them does take a little bit of time and effort, but we'll go over that shortly, actually right now.